RFI.
Nicaragua has marked the 39th anniversary of the 1979 revolution against the dictator Anastasio Somoza. The anniversary comes against the backdrop of a deadly crackdown by President Daniel Ortega, the very man who helped in leading the Sandinista uprising that led to the end of Somoza. Many say he has now become a dictator himself. Since April, protests over cuts to pensions have grown into a nationwide movement demanding that Ortega step down. For more on this, we cross to Nevada in the United States to speak to Dr. Cynara Medina, who specializes in media studies with a focus on Latin American media. Dr. Cynara, Dr. Medina, thanks very much for joining us. Just remind us what's behind these anti-government protests and the violent crackdown against them.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. The protests began on April 19th. That's the date that we take as the official start. The triggering events were the lackluster response to the fire at the Indio Maíz Reserve. And after that came the decision by the government to reform the Social Security law of the country by imposing a 5% tax on existing pensions and future pensions, as well as other changes that would increase what people needed to pay into Social Security. That led to students and other citizens just protesting in Managua, and that is when the crackdown really began. And today it is the 3-month anniversary of the protests, and things have gotten progressively worse. We are up to over 350 people dead. Most of them are Nicaraguan civilians.
And you've mentioned in your work that the government has weaponized communication. What do you mean by this?
Well, the Ortega regime has a really strong propaganda apparatus. They make all the rules. They can censor you whenever they want. They can shut down your television signal whenever they want. But that's not really the most powerful weapon that they have. The most powerful weapon is their propaganda, because it is really an organized machine that is a top-down, very disciplined operation. They have television stations, they have radio stations, they have stakes on social media, they have a very active presence, and what they do is churn out messages. And one of the tactics that they use, which is why I call it weaponizing communication, is to label the opposition. They essentially call everybody who opposes the regime names, and it's not pretty names. It's criminals, vandals, terrorists, and as of this week, devils, demons, and Satanists, which is how the president of Nicaragua referred to his opposition in today's speech commemorating the anniversary of the revolution. He has also called the bishops coup-mongers. And essentially, if you oppose Mr. Ortega, you are on the bad side, and the machine will come after you. And this has very serious consequences. Even the Inter-American Human Rights Commission said that this kind of stigmatizing language can be very dangerous. And we have already seen the consequences of this. We have the case of Felix Maradiaga, who is a human rights activist based in Managua. He was surrounded by Ortega sympathizers who just beat him up and sent him to the hospital for a couple of days. The bishops were attacked in Diriamba and other places as well, and it's all can be tied back to this kind of weaponized language that the government uses to stigmatize the opposition.
We will unfortunately have to leave it there, Dr. Medina. We do apologize. We're out of time here, but thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Cynara Medina, specializing on media studies with a focus on Latin America. Thank you very much.